In today's ET Infra's Aviation Connect, we were joined by Mr. Arun Ramchandani, Executive Vice President and Head, L&T Defence. L&T has had a decade-long experience in the space and aerospace sector and is one of the most prominent private sector partners of ISRO. In our conversation, Mr. Ramchandani discussed about the PSLV program, wherein the company, along with its consortium partner, Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, will be undertaking PSLV launches very soon. He also discussed about the contribution L&T had made in the Chandrayaan-3 mission and about the various ship and submarine building programs that the company is engaged in. We started the discussion with Mr. Ramchandani highlighting the very special relationship that L&T has had with ISRO over the decades.
We have been associated with ISRO for a long time, and we are associated with their launch vehicle program. And almost, I would say, all launch vehicles which ISRO launches, we have some contribution to each of those launch vehicles. And for this LVM-3, we had the boosters, the S-200 boosters, which were made at our facilities. And there are other hardware as well, like the deck panels, etc., which were also made at our facilities. So our long association with ISRO on the launch vehicle program made us part of this mission as well. Of course, the mission has other aspects also, like tracking of the mission, communication, etc. And we have been associated with a lot of the infrastructure required for the mission, like the tracking radars, etc. So that is our role in this particular mission.
It has been your decade-long association with ISRO, one of the primary private sector partners for ISRO. If you could briefly outline to us, the Chandrayaan mission is now successfully done. But with regard to the other engagement with ISRO currently, which you have, and also, what are the other future mega projects that you are involved with?
Okay, so actually, it's a 5-decade-long association. So from the time ISRO started, the space launch vehicles, we have been associated with the program from the days Dr. Kalam was the program director. And, the association has been growing. Of course, now the situation in space is changing significantly with policy reforms, etc. And there is the opening up of the sector to the private industry. And we are also making, taking steps to take advantage of these policy reforms and looking at the segment in a much broader way. So far, it was more of supporting ISRO's missions, which were largely R&D missions. Of course, they did launch commercial satellites also into orbit, but now we are looking at it in a much broader way. So if you are asking me that how we are, deepening our association with ISRO and with the space sector, we are doing a program for launching PSLVs, which will now there is a program for launching 5 PSLVs through an industry consortium. So this consortium is led by HAL, and HAL and L&T are parts of this consortium. And the PSLV, 5 PSLV launches will be conducted in this mode. So till date, PSLV launches were always conducted by ISRO. Now, NSIL, which is the commercial arm of ISRO, has placed an order on us for producing these 5 vehicles and then being involved in the launch of these 5 vehicles. So this is the first shift that we are seeing, from being a supplier to ISRO's mission to actually being part of the mission. So that is where we are today. And of course, we are looking at many more opportunities, whether it is in the area of satellites, etc. We are seeing how we can enhance our participation in this.
So the space policy definitely, and the space policy in its very broader form came out earlier in the year and really outlined the responsibility of each particular stakeholders. As you said, for the PSLV launches, you have HAL as your partner. You talked about the 5 launches, that are guaranteed to you and your consortium partner. When could you give us an update? When can we expect those launches to really firm up and be, undertaken by L&T and HAL?
So we are already working on it. Our target is to have the first launch in the mid of 2024. So the first of the 5 will be launched around mid of next year. And the schedule for all the launches will be worked out as part of the plan for various missions that will take place. But the first launch itself is as early as next year.
So, Ramchandani sir, my follow-up question will be that since it would be a private launch, now ISRO has given that responsibility to you. When you undertake this kind of launches, there also has to be an ROI, return on investment. I just wanted to have a idea, would the 5 launches initially would be enough, or there is this a minimum number of launches that private sector participants such as yours will have to undertake in a year to make that commercially viable?
So right now we have orders from NSIL, right? And these are done more like, I would say, it is the government enabling the industry to be ready for doing this. The long-term business model has to be that industry will plan the launches, industry will carry out the launches. Of course, the space regulator that is in space will be involved, where support of ISRO facilities, etc., are required, they will be available. But we would have to plan the launches, we would have to carry out the launches, and more importantly, we would have to find the customers for this launch, which will enable the viability of the mission. So, like you said, these 5 launches are guaranteed to us. And with that level, having done that, we should be in a position to give confidence to our customers that we can conduct these launches. We have, carried out so many successful launches. So currently, we don't have the obligation to find the payload and customer for these launches. That ISRO will take care of. So, the costs of doing this are taken care of in our contract. But the business model moving forward will be for us to sell capacity on the vehicle and to make it a viable proposition, which means we have to drive down the costs of doing this kind of launch, and we have to find customers who are willing to pay and give the profitability to the business. And as you know, the Indian space program is a very competitive program. Our costs are significantly lower than what is there worldwide. Having said that, there is also competition. There are larger vehicles, there are reusable launch vehicles. Everybody is looking at how to bring down the cost of putting 1 kilogram into space. So we will have to deal with all these business challenges and competition and work out a viable and remunerative business model.
Sir, this is always, we talk about, you touched upon the cost aspect part of it. And that is what everybody talks about, that how ISRO and all the Indian space ecosystem keeps the cost low. From L&T's perspective, would you be able to share how does L&T go about it in terms of keeping the cost structure low so that it itself becomes viable? Because for a country like ours, keeping the cost low is very needed because there are a lot of resources that needs to be deployed elsewhere.
So I can only say that, from our perspective, we have been in this business for long. We have mastered the business. Our, first time right and our ability to build this efficiently has evolved. And Of course, moving forward as we go into a competitive market, we will have to more and more look at what innovations we can do to drive down costs further. But so far, I think it's a very efficiently executed program. The right partners are on board. ISRO has managed the ecosystem well, and we have been able to maintain the costs of launches very effectively.
Would you be able to share in terms of what's the current order book that you have that comes from the space and aerospace part of it? And where do you see that particular order book or the revenue going ahead in the coming years?
So currently, we have an order book of about 500 crores from space. Okay. And I would say it is still early days for me to predict, where it will go. We are bullish, but there are a lot of assumptions in, how things will pan out over the next few years. And we have to really see how things pan out, how effectively we are able to find customers, how effectively we are, the environment grows and all that. So there are estimates, there are, I would say we are very bullish on the sector. We see future potential, but at this stage, it would be too early to say that, there is a concrete business plan which we can predict, because the sector is very nascent. And what are those initial hiccups, hurdles, how things stabilize? Maybe when we have done a few of these launches, when we have, we are looking at getting into SSLV and other such vehicles. So we would have a better sense of what the ground reality is. We know what it takes to produce vehicles like PSLV, because that's been going on for many years. But how this business model will work, how we will attract customers, what will be the sustainability, growth, etc. I would not want to hazard a guess other than tell you that today I have an order book of about 500 crores from all my ISRO-related, space-related programs.
But also, I would like to, have a sense. You talked about the SSLV, and correct me if I'm wrong, but SSLV will mostly focus on the low Earth orbit operations. The SpaceX and the others have really taken a lead in terms of this low Earth orbit, operations, satellite operations. How does L&T see into it? PSLV is laid and done, but in terms of the SSLV, will it be your core focus area, or this is something you will just gradually enter?
No. So SSLV is a core focus area, because we feel that, the demand for low Earth orbit and, smaller satellites will be much higher. So it seems to be the right way to enter the market. And we are banking on SSLV in a significant way for, being the launch vehicle for the growing market that we see in the low Earth orbit. Of course, there is a process. ISRO has to select their TOT partner, and then we have to industrialize the product and get into. But all that should happen very fast. And the EOI for for ISRO to identify the TOT partner is already in place. And we will see how things pan out. I'm sure there will be competition as well. Others may also have plans like these. So we will have to see how we fare in that.
But in the coming years, you definitely do plan to give, Elon Musk and SpaceX a run for their money.
For sure. So we have to think big. We have to think, that like the space, there are no boundaries and limits. So we have to really think how we can convert this into a strong business model. And we are working on that.
Sir,
there is a burgeoning ecosystem of startups in the Indian space ecosystem as well. Anyway, L&T is engaging with them, or any plans for tying up with them, onboarding them, help holding them?
So we are doing all of that, and we are very closely watching what the startup ecosystem is doing. We are engaged with some of them, and in some cases we have worked together with some of them. In some cases we have supported them. So we may also look at some of these for getting a stake into them. So all of these things are open. It's a growing ecosystem, and we are watching it with close interest.
Like you said, you will be looking at picking up stake in any of these startups.
Yeah, we are certainly examining that as well, and we are looking at partnerships, all of that. We are looking at even supporting some of them, because end of the day, an ecosystem is very important for any business to thrive.
Any names that you could disclose? I'm not forcing you, but if you could.
No, I would rather pass that question.
Thank you.
For
Sir,
obvious reasons. Yeah.
I understand. So moving away a little bit from the space and aerospace segment, there's been a lot of talk about this GE F414 fighter aircraft engine being manufactured in India. Nothing been finalized yet, although there is an sort of an MOU that has been worked upon. L&T's been involvement in the defense sector is very well known. As and when that sort of ecosystem comes up, when we will be manufacturing the state of the art fighter aircraft engine, is anyway L&T is going to get engaged with HAL or any other entity where you can come in and contribute your part in this manufacturing ecosystem of fighter jet?
So I will say that we are already involved. In fact, we do produce the wings for the LCA at our facility in Coimbatore. So, that production happens. We we have a significant, I would say, aerospace business, which is looking at playing at the tier 1 level in both space and the aviation grade systems. So whether it is aerostructures, we build our own UAVs, we build the flight control computers for the UAVs, we do avionics, we are there on the LCA avionics. So a lot of the cockpit avionics are built by us for HAL. So we are pretty much engaged in that ecosystem, and I believe that we can do a lot more.
Right to rightly say that you are already sort of L&T is already engaged into the entire aspect of the ecosystem. When, if at all, we can expect L&T, or if there are any plans, when L&T sort of comes up with this plan of manufacturing its own aircraft, probably in partnership with a foreign OEM, where you have your own element design, or in design that is in partnership. Are there any plans or any thought of in that direction?
So as of now, we have stayed away from that thought. Largely looking at that HAL is well established. There are a couple of other private players who are there in this segment, and we are playing mostly at the tier 1 level, but that doesn't prevent us from thinking beyond that. At the same time, so I would say we will see. Right now, our focus is more at the tier 1. So whether we will, we can look at aero engines in a bigger way. We can look at aero structures in a bigger way. We can look at avionics in a bigger way. All of these things we are looking at. Whether that will culminate into an aircraft thing, I would say it's still too early. We haven't, thought about that yet.
So coming to a little bit the shipping part of the business, you tied up recently with Spain's Navantia for the ambitious P75I submarine project. If you could briefly tell us where currently we are in terms of the status of the project, because this project has been going on for a long time. The Scorpion project is almost now over, and this is the next step. But we are not yet finalized as to where the next range of conventional diesel submarines would come in. Would you give us a little bit of clarity where we are currently?
So you are diving from outer space to underwater.
Underwater.
So just to give you a sense that the P75I program is progressing now, and on the 1st of August, both Mazgaon Docks and us have submitted our bids. We with MDL, they with TKMS of Germany, and we are geared up to see the outcome of this competition, and we are quite hopeful that we could emerge as the builders of the next class of diesel electric submarines with AIP, which is a game-changing feature in these submarines. So we see this program as good potential for us, and we are hopeful that it will move fast now.
So, how long do you think the entire RFP process, evaluation of the respective consortiums, partners, and all, do you think until the final order actually comes in?
So you have to ask Navy that question. It's all I can say that we submitted our bids within the deadline provided,
Right.
and these are very complex bids, and we have done that part. Of course, evaluating these bids is also complex.
True.
It is being done under a new model of procurement, which is a strategic partnership model. So there are no precedents on this. It's all a new model. So there could be challenges on the way, but I would say it appears that Navy is very committed to moving fast on it, and I'm optimistic that things will happen. The program will progress well.
So L&T has been involved in the Indian Navy's Indianization program, but this is I think if I'm not wrong, for the first time you have come in for full-fledged manufacturing of submarines. Would you give us sort of a reason why submarines particular, when you already have a very dominant position in terms of other shipbuilding for the Indian Armed Forces?
So we have, our submarine heritage comes from our heavy engineering capabilities, which, submarine construction is a very complex, and it is at the high end of fabrication capabilities and construction capability, which we have built, and it is a segment that we are certainly looking at, and we have a lot of capabilities. So besides the shipbuilding capabilities, this kind of, we've done precision work for space, and even in defense, we do a lot of precision and engineering intensive precision manufacturing work, and the submarine comes from that background.
Right. So my last few queries would be, sir, in terms of your partner, Spanish partner. All congratulations to you if you do secure this submarine project. Have you outlined any sort of TOT that might happen between L&T and Spain's Navantia if you do get through this order?
So, like you are aware, this is under the strategic partnership model, and there are the strategic partnership model envisages capability building in the domestic yard. It envisages transfer of technology both to the yard and to the government, so that the capability to design future submarines is also built within the country. So that is how the strategic partnership model is built, and various TOT arrangements, etc., form part of the our bidding arrangement, and they are mandated. What has to be there is a minimum level of indigenization which has to be done across the program, and there are certain subsystems which have to be indigenized. All of this is specified in the RFP, and we will have to be compliant to that. So our bid cater for building that level of indigenous capability, doing that level of indigenous content as is called for in the bid.
Right. Sir, my last question, is there any sort of Capex or a revenue target that you have for L&T Defence overall into the entire L&T conglomerate? Are there any targets that you are aiming for?
So, we see potential for significant growth, and we are quite confident that we will grow both our revenues and our order books very significantly. We see growth even in the near term. There are couple of contracts which we are working on, etc. And so I would say the growth numbers will be very high. I am not right now sharing the numbers or putting any projections out there, but just suffice it to say that this is a significant growth segment for us, and we will see a good growth in order book, in revenues in the segment. We made significant investments in this segment. So whether it is building a greenfield shipyard, we have set up factories all over the country. We have 7 facilities which are doing defense manufacturing all over the country. And we have invested good amount of capital into the business. We've created a strong organization. We've created design capabilities and a good pool of human resources as well. And I think we are well poised to take advantage of this thrust on Make in India.
So thank you, Ramchandani sir, for taking out your time and talking to us. And all the best for all the future projects and endeavors that L&T Defence is aiming for.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Pleasure talking with you.
Thank you.